Picture a guy who has been fighting non-stop for 80,000 years. He was there for the fall of empires nobody even remembers the names of anymore. He walked through both world wars. He has died more times than anyone could count, and every single time his body knits itself back together and drags him into the next war. That is the pitch behind Keanu Reeves' passion project, and after years of near silence, it finally has real, verifiable momentum behind it. Director Justin Lin has confirmed multiple completed drafts of the script exist. The project is sitting in pre-production, and the same writer building this movie is currently juggling two other massive franchises at the same time, which honestly tells you a lot about why this has taken so long to reach the screen. Let's clear something up first, because a lot of coverage gets this wrong. BRZRKR started as a comic from Boom Studios, co-created and co-written by Reeves himself alongside Matt Kindt, a genuinely respected New York Times best-selling writer. Ron Garney, the artist behind acclaimed runs on Wolverine and Captain America, handled the visuals with color art from Bill Crabtree and letters from Clem Robbins. This was never a celebrity vanity project where a famous face slapped their name on someone else's script. Reeves had been developing this world in his head for years before it ever hit a page. The origin story is honestly wild on its own. Boom launched a Kickstarter for the book back in 2020 asking for $50,000, which is a totally normal ask for an indie comic. It ended up pulling in roughly $1.45 million, setting a record at the time as the highest funded comic book campaign the platform had ever seen. Then the first issue actually shipped in early 2021 and blew past even that hype, moving somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 650,000 copies depending on which outlet you check, which made it one of the biggest original comic debuts in decades. It needed a second printing almost immediately. Across the full run, spin-offs, and collected editions, the franchise has now sold north of 3.5 million units worldwide. For an original, non-licensed superhero-adjacent property, those numbers are nearly unheard of in the current market. Netflix jumped on the rights almost immediately, announcing back in March of 2021 that it had secured a live-action film and a companion anime series, along with first-look rights on anything else connected to the world. That last detail matters more than people give it credit for, because it means Netflix structured this from day one as a potential franchise, not a one-and-done adaptation. Now here is where the story gets a little messier and honestly more interesting. Mattson Tomlin came aboard to write the screenplay in October of 2021. If you know his other work, this was a smart pickup. He co-wrote The Batman Part 2 with Matt Reeves and created Terminator Zero for Netflix, so he clearly understands how to build something that feels grounded and mythic at the same time. He turned in a completed draft by late 2022, but progress after that went quiet for a long stretch, mostly because Tomlin got buried under other commitments. At San Diego Comic-Con, he resurfaced to confirm he had just turned in another fresh draft, and he also revealed he would be showrunning the anime spin-off on top of writing the film, which suggests Netflix wants one unified creative voice steering the whole universe instead of separate teams pulling it in different directions. Reeves was actually at that same convention receiving the Inkpot Award for his contributions to pop culture, and toy legend Todd McFarlane surprised him on stage with a custom BRZRKR action figure that Reeves immediately started playing with in front of the crowd. The real turning point came in March of 2025, when The Hollywood Reporter confirmed Justin Lin had officially signed on to direct and produce through his Perfect Storm banner. Most casual viewers hear Lin's name and think purely Fast and Furious, but that undersells what he actually brings. Even inside that increasingly ridiculous franchise, Lin has a track record of keeping the emotional stakes and character relationships legible underneath massive, chaotic action, which is exactly the skill this material needs so it doesn't collapse into empty spectacle. Interestingly, Lin and Reeves connected through a completely different project first. Reeves quietly stepped in as a financial backer on Lin's low-budget indie drama Last Days, which premiered at Sundance in January of 2025, and that collaboration is reportedly what pushed Lin toward taking the BRZRKR job. In an interview promoting Last Days later that year, Lin gave an update on where things stand, describing the collaboration with Reeves and Tomlin as one of the more rewarding experiences of his career and saying he felt genuinely fortunate to be part of it. He stopped short of giving any kind of production start date, so as of right now there is still no confirmed shooting schedule, no official release window, and definitely no locked 2027 release despite what a few speculative fan-made thumbnails online might suggest. One detail worth flagging for anyone tracking the behind-the-scenes dynamics. Tomlin is not just writing this one project. He is also finishing up work on The Batman Part 2, which starts filming in spring of 2026, and on top of that, he penned the screenplay for Kane, the Donnie Yen-led John Wick spin-off that is currently in production as of this summer, produced through Chad Stahelski's own banner alongside longtime Wick producers Basil Ewanik and Erica Lee, with Reeves himself attached as a producer on that one too, so the same writer is simultaneously threading through the Batman universe, the John Wick universe, and this new mythology, which probably explains a good chunk of the slow, drawn-out development timeline better than any studio conspiracy theory would. Speaking of John Wick, the rumor fans keep circling back to involves Chad Stahelski. Reeves has a decades-long relationship with Stahelski, going back to his stunt double work on The Matrix, and reports have floated for a while that the two discussed how to translate Berserker's combat onto the screen during the press run for John Wick Chapter 4. Nothing about a formal directing or choreography role has been confirmed, and it is worth separating this from Stahelski's current, very real involvement producing Kane, which is a completely different project. Still, even the possibility of his input on B's fight choreography is exciting for a simple reason. John Wick, however brutal, is still a mortal man who has to move carefully because every bullet can end him. B does not have that limitation. He gets shot, stabbed, blown apart, and crushed, and he just keeps coming because his body regenerates almost instantly. That opens the door to a style of violence that treats catastrophic injury as a minor inconvenience rather than a stopping point, which nobody working in mainstream action filmmaking has really been able to explore at this scale before. As for the anime, that side of the universe has actually made more concrete progress than the film. Production IG, the legendary studio behind Ghost in the Shell and Psycho Pass, signed on back in 2022, and by the summer of 2024 production was reportedly moving into gear with a full start planned that year. 2 seasons already locked in, and Reeves confirmed to voice B himself, so the character stays consistent across mediums. No hard release date has landed publicly yet, though the fact that Netflix committed to a full 2-season order before a single frame of footage existed says a lot about how confident they are in this world's staying power. Now let's talk about why the comics expanded universe should give fans real confidence, because this is honestly the part more casual coverage tends to skip past. The original 12-issue run wrapped in March of 2023, but Boom kept the world growing through a spin-off anthology called Bloodlines. In Poetry of Madness, B ends up guarding the ancient city of Atlantis against a secret cult trying to bring the whole civilization down. In Fallen Empire, written by Reeves and Tomlin with art from Rebecca Isaacs, a lone survivor of a ruined kingdom recounts a tragic fable of lost love and vengeance, and it landed some genuinely strong reviews for how emotionally layered it was compared to the main series. In A Face Full of Bullets, acclaimed writer Jason Aaron drops B into the American frontier during the 1850s and 1860s, where he gets mistaken for a literal angel while getting tangled up in a feud involving a corrupt land baron and his daughter. And in The Lost Book of B, the original creative team of Reeves, Kint, and Garney reunite for a story where B becomes a weapon for Genghis Khan himself, helping pave the way for the Silk Road before fighting to break free of the warlord's control. That one especially plays almost like a proof of concept for a full historical epic, and it is not hard to imagine Netflix eventually greenlighting a standalone film built entirely around that single premise. So here is my honest read on all of this. Every piece of evidence points toward Netflix quietly building an anthology franchise disguised as a single origin movie. The modern-day Black Ops storyline works as the anchor point, establishing who B is and what his curse actually costs him. But once audiences understand that foundation, the comics have already proven you can drop him into literally any era and any genre, and it still works, whether that is a Western, a lost civilization epic, or a Mongol Empire war story. The anime gives Netflix a parallel track to keep expanding that mythology without waiting on the slower film pipeline. The single biggest risk, and every outlet covering this seems to agree on it, is Netflix getting nervous about the rating and sanding down the violence to chase a wider audience. That would gut the entire point of the character, because in this story, the brutality is not decoration. It is the actual argument the story is making about what endless survival does to a person's soul. The other risk worth naming honestly is that Reeves has become so associated with the John Wick persona that this could easily turn into into a watered-down retread with a fantasy coat of paint instead of its own distinct thing. Wick chooses violence because it is the only tool he has left in a specific moment. B cannot choose anything at all, which is a fundamentally different and heavier story to tell. If the creative team, and it genuinely looks like a strong one between Lynn, Tomlin, and Reeves himself as a hands-on producer, manages to hold on to that distinction, this has a real shot at becoming Reeves' next defining franchise rather than just another action vehicle writing his name.